Hello there, cat people. Dan the Catman here, and welcome to episode 25 of the Shelter Cats podcast. I'm going to dispense with my usual pleasantries. This is a very, 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 very powerful episode that I am rushing out because this story needed to be told. It's a very unfortunate story of just tragic loss of a beloved cat at the hands of a corrupt, horrible system in place in the town of Hempstead Shelter. That's one of the big shelters where I live on Long Island in New York. It involves a cat that lived its best life on a beach with an amazing person whose story you'll hear in just a few moments. It is a story of a cat that just unfortunately wandered over a fence, and it is the story of just a misunderstanding that this cat ended up in a horrible shelter that is connected with a corrupt, horrible vet in a major town in Nassau County. And it's a story of a cat that was put to sleep when it was entirely unnecessary, when there are supposed to be rules in place, when there's supposed to be a protocol, a system. This is a cat that lived nearly 18 years, lived an amazing life with an amazing family and an amazing person named Tate, and just met his end in the most horrible possible way, most horrible of which is that it wasn't necessary. This happened because of the corruption and political backdealings of a town shelter and a horrible, disgusting slaughterhouse of a vet in Valley Stream, New York, which is a major town in Nassau County, for those not on the island, that just have a Tony Soprano back deal. You know, you rub my back, I'll rub your back, with no thought to the animals whatsoever. All about a vet bill. I'm going to do my absolute best and likely fail from just expressing how angry I am, because I'm recording this intro after I talked with Tate. And not long after this tragedy happened with her cat Spirit, she learned of the same exact thing that happened with someone else's cat named Toast, which is why this episode is called Toast and Spirit. So, without further ado, I want you to stop what you're doing, turn down your music, put your phone on mute, and just listen to this wonderful human being, Tate Simmons, my guest today. She speaks with emotion, with passion. She speaks with eloquence that is far beyond her years. And this is someone that you really need to pay attention to, because she has an amazing future, because she's going to make this change. Because what happened to her beloved cat, very simply, had no reason to happen. So here is the story of Toast and Spirit with my guest, Tate Simmons.
I hear you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to try this again. Thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I saw your post.
Thank you for having.
I saw your post, and I just had to have your story as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So really,
Right.
to begin, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again for having me. This really means a lot. And when you reached out, I was like, this is special, because I want this story to get out there, and I want people to know, and I want the cat community especially to know. So when I saw your podcast, I'm like, oh my gosh, this this is the perfect outlet. So, my name is Tate Simmons. I am the owner of Spirit, one of the cats that was horrifically and tragically euthanized because of the town of Hempstead's lack of process and protocol in their town of Hempstead animal shelter, in conjunction with their contracted vet, Central Vet in Valley Stream. So yeah.
And before anything else, tell me about your cat. I want to know, because your cat was 18, am I correct?
17, almost 18. He was an old man.
Tell me about him.
Yeah, so I've had Spirit almost my entire life. I'm 25 years old, and like I said, Spirit was 17, almost 18. So I live in a
Wow.
small town on the island, a beach community. Speed limit's 15 miles an hour. It's born and raised there. It's just a really special town, especially for like our ferals and our house cats. So Spirit was actually born on the bay side of town. When I was little, I had this obsession with like the cats on the bay side because, of course, they love to be down there. There used to be there's fishing stations down there, and there's endless foods for the ferals. So my pediatrician at the time knew I was a crazy cat girl, and she was working on a TNR problem, by her house, and she had a litter. And every day I'd go over there. I'm like, Mom, I want a kitten. I want a kitten. She's trying to get them all adopted, and all this stuff. And my mom's like, absolutely not. We don't need another cat. We already have 3. You don't need another animal in this house. So I was persistent, and every day I kept going and looking at the kittens, and every kitten was spoken for except for one little black one. And I've always loved black cats. I'm very, I'm just in love with them. So that was my little Spirit. And finally, one day, my mom and dad agreed. They're like, "You could bring him home. You've hounded us enough." And he was just the cutest little thing. I mean, everyone looked past him because he was black, but for me, I thought he was like the most perfect little thing in the entire world. So I was able to bring him home, and he was one of the most amazing cats. And I know everyone says that about their cats, but Spirit was an old man. I mean, when he was younger, he was so spunky. He was sparky. He was an indoor outdoor cat. And
There's a tiny brief intermission. We had a minor blip in the episode, so I'm just recording this to kind of link the 2 parts together so that it's not so jarring. But I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you all so much for listening to this episode. This means a lot to me because I want this story to be told far and wide. So thank you so much. And now let's get back to Tate and the story of Toast and Spirit. Welcome back to the show.
thank you.
You are giving me an editing challenge, but I accept it. So when last you were telling me about he was how he became an older man and he was an indoor outdoor cat.
Yes. So Spirit was an indoor outdoor cat. And my house is a few houses down from the beach. So up until the day he died, he was always walking to the beach. I have 4 other cats, and he kind of ran the show at the house. But he was a very forgiving creature. I mean, I have younger cats in the house that would just pick on him, and he always kind of stood his ground and had a very wise look to him. And he, the one thing I have to say about this cat is my whole life, through ups and downs, everyone goes through, hardships and points where they're like, what is going on? What is life? What is, what's next for me? But I think this cat, Spirit was always just a steady piece of my life. And a lot of the pictures that you see trending around, he was in a cast. My little old man, he must have missed a jump to the counter. We're not sure because we weren't home. All of a sudden we got home and he was walking with a limp. But what we're thinking is he missed a jump to the counter or to one of the elevated surfaces in the house, and he ended up breaking his leg. So immediately we rushed him to Livs, Long Island Veterinary Specialists, who were able to take a good look, and they didn't even have to sedate him for x-rays. He was just so perfect. He went in there, they were able to x-ray him, and they're like, well, he broke his leg. And regardless of his age, he's a healthy cat. And they're like, we're going to cast him up. They're like, as long as you're committed to this, every week you'll have to come back. He'll have to get a new cast, but it'll heal. It won't heal perfectly, but he'll still have many more years ahead. So the last 4 months, we were bringing him back and forth to Libs. Thank God to my mom. She was the one who was really, committing all the time to doing this. I work full time in the city.
Wow.
And every single week he'd come back, and Long Island veterinary specialists, they are amazing. They would cast him in different colors. Around Halloween, they had him in like a Frankenstein cast, and Valentine's Day they had him in a heart cast. So he always had a really cute little decorated cast on. And they wouldn't have casted him up and put him through the whole process if they didn't think he had many more amazing years.
Absolutely, absolutely not. Absolutely
Yeah,
not. He just sounds like an amazing, special cat, and to be part of your life for so long.
yeah.
So, with that being said, how the part I'm not understanding, how did he end up at Town of Hempstead?
Yeah, so I'll walk you through the whole story. It's definitely, as I'm telling you this, you'll be able to see where the pieces were broken. So as I mentioned, Spirit had broken his leg. Once his cast had been taken off, the vet said, "Look, I'm happy with how it healed. He's gonna have a little bit of like a peg leg. He's gonna have not a perfect walk, but you'll be able to tell, that he did break this at one point, but it's not gonna affect his quality of life. He'll still be the same old happy Spirit that you know." So the morning of April 16th, prior we had been trying to keep him inside because we're like, you know what, he should not, we don't need him outside. He can't fend for himself. And a lot of people are going to say, oh my gosh, you deserve this because your cat went outside. You know what? The town that I live in and the lives that my cats have outside, they're on the beach every day. They're happy. I'm literally a few houses off the beach. My cats are so happy being indoor outdoor, and they're monitored, every single night. They don't venture far at all. So I just want to emphasize too that just because my cat was an indoor outdoor doesn't mean that this was deserving. This could have
Right.
happened to someone's cat that snuck out. You have company over and the cat gets past the person when they open the door, or a dog that maybe got out, it broke out of the fence. It doesn't have to do with him being out indoor outdoor. This has to do with the protocol and process in place. So Spirit's story. The morning of April 16th, my mom had let him out. He always had a little morning ritual. He'd eat with the other cats and then he'd lay out in the sun in the driveway. That was like his favorite thing to do. And when he got this cast off, the months after, he was so happy to just like have that leg like toasted up in the sun. I called him my purring machine because he was always purring and he was always happy. Um, but he had ventured literally, no exaggeration, 6 feet off my property line. He had hopped the fence and he had gone to the house directly behind us. If you look out my back window, you can see the driveway. And everyone was familiar, all my neighbors, everyone in town was familiar with my cat. They know I do cat rescue, they know my cats, except for the person behind us. So they had company visiting from out of town in Virginia. So no one in that house at that time was familiar with the cat. And what had happened was they had actually fed Spirit, and he went to, after he ate a full meal with this woman, he laid down in the driveway, resting in the sun, and she took it among herself to believe that he looked like he was struggling. His leg looked like he was struggling. She said that he looked like he was walking with a limp and he was in pain, when in reality, that was just his leg that had healed. He
Right.
showed no signs of being in distress. He was just laying there happy in the sun. So again, this woman was from Virginia. She didn't know. Thinking she was doing the right thing, she had called Town of Hempstead Animal Control. It was a Sunday. So shockingly enough, I've seen cats get hit by cars. I've seen dogs get hit by cars. I've seen animals with organs strung out in the middle of the road, and I can't get Town of Hempstead here. But on a Sunday morning, this woman made one call and somehow got the animal control unit to come. And from there, this is where the story gets bad. So she thought she was doing the right thing, right? She didn't know the cat. She wasn't from the area. She didn't ask around. She didn't say, is this anyone's cat? Knock on door to door. She would have known if she just knocked on 2 or 3 doors, but she didn't. She thought she was doing the right thing. She thought he was abandoned, even though he had a collar on. Still not sure where that miscommunication happened, but I didn't want to rail into her too much. So she called Town of Hempstead, And the driver came. He did not ask her, did you ask around? Did you, this cat has a collar on. He must belong to someone. Did you do your due diligence? We have a community Facebook page. She could have easily posted one photo, and I'm guaranteeing you in 1 minute, they would have said that's Tate Simmons' cat, but she didn't. Now, the town of Hempstead driver, he did not ask any questions. He saw the collar, did not do anything. He picked up my cat. My cat went with him willingly, picked up my cat, put him in the back of the animal control unit, and he was off.
Oh my God.
Now this is kind of, as you know, this was, a very traumatic situation, but what happened was the animal control, normally, or what I thought was they bring the animals to the shelter and they're held under a lost and found program. That is very much not the case here. They brought Spirit directly to Central Vet Associates in Valley Stream, which is the contracted vet's office. If you look up this vet's office, they are one of the worst veterinary hospitals. I don't even want to say just on Long Island. I want to say in this country, because I have heard horror stories. People have approached me even prior to this situation happening, saying this place is absolutely horrible. They have no reason to be open and in business. They're absolutely careless. They don't care about their animals. They need to be shut down. They're money hungry. Well, the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter has a contract with this vet's office. So since it was a Sunday, there was no vet on call at the actual animal shelter, which is a huge problem. That being said, Spirit never even made it to the animal shelter. They drove him directly to Central Vet. From there, he was there literally for maybe 1 to 2 hours. The vet ran tests that all showed he was fine. There was not one result that showed he should have been euthanized. He had a collar on. He was a lively cat. I mean, his eyes, it wasn't like, he came in and he was limp and couldn't move his head. My cat definitely, his last moments living, wanted to move around. He was unfamiliar with the place. He was definitely terrified. What she did was she ran these tests. They racked up quite a bill, which, us taxpayers pay for that. And from there, made the decision, she looked at his leg. She looked at his old age. She made the decision to take his collar off. She threw it in the garbage, and my cat was euthanized.
Oh my God.
So there was no lost and found protocol. There was no, this cat has a collar on. Don't we think he might have a home? There was nothing. The cat never even made it through a program. Like, these shelters are supposed to have these amazing lost and found programs where they do anything that, they'll do anything in the world that they can to have the cat find their home, right? Like, we want to believe that in these shelters and these town of Hempstead board members, that they actually care and they want to reunite these animals with their homes, and they feel sorry for the victims. There was no process in place. The vet literally ripped the collar off and threw it in the garbage. And to me, that is so symbolic for so many things, because when a cat has a collar on, it didn't just magically get put on, and
right.
She looked at his leg and it's like, what's kind of crazy to me, and as I tell the story over and over again, it just keeps reoccurring to me that she looked at his old age and his leg and didn't even, it healed. It was healed. And she's a veterinarian. She's supposed to understand, the cat's body and how things work, and how, the bones mend together if something's broken. Like, you could tell this cat had been through veterinary care. But for some reason, she euthanized him. And
God.
Looking back at the day, when we called our actual veterinarian and were mortified as to what happened, our vet could not believe it. We were able to get all those veterinary records that Central Vet did, and not one veterinarian to this day, and we're showing these records to everyone, can find one reason why this cat was death worthy. She on the sheet, she said he was emaciated. Well, you know what? You didn't run a hyperthyroid test, because if you did, you would have seen that he had a hyperthyroid, which is an easy thing. They didn't do anything. It was a look and he's old, he's done. There was no process. And what's most bothering to me is, we had called that vet's office. And as soon as we found out what had happened, my mom, believe it or not, my neighbors, who are so amazing, they had helped us for days. Because after the second day of Spirit not being home, I'm like, something is wrong. This is not like my cat. My cats come in, they go out, they're on an hourly routine. They're a kind woman, a neighbor of ours, who actually works a lot with the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, I kept saying to her, I'm checking their Facebook page, but they're not posting any cats. Like, it's just weird, but, they probably didn't find him, because if they found him, they would have posted him on social media. Well, that was not the case. They had found him and they had picked him up. They just didn't put him through the process. So my neighbor had called and said, hey, did you by any chance pick up a cat on Sunday from Point Lookout? And they're like, yeah, we did, on so-and-so Avenue. Yeah, the cat was euthanized.
Oh my
She
God.
dropped the phone and called my mom. I'm glad I didn't hear that first phone call, because I think I would have just died inside. She called my mom in tears, just unconsolable. And my mom, believe it or not, was driving and got in a car accident. Minor car accident. She tapped the person in front of her. But that's how powerful that moment was.
Right.
My mom's fine. Everything's fine. But
okay, good. My God.
yeah. And we called the vet because we wanted to know what happened. Now, when I've done a lot of volunteer work when I was little for shelters in the area, and I've been an animal kid my entire life. You want to believe that these shelters are full of good-hearted people, right? And when animal control picked up the cat and they brought it to Central Vet, that the vet would have looked at him and said, you know what? This is an old cat, but he looks pretty darn good, but there was none of that. And that has unfolded a whole nother story. And I'm understanding, that with politics and this person knows this one, and he's, we have a contract with them because he knows her and she knows him. And it's all about money. Because at the end of the day, Town of Hempstead was billed for spirits tests. Only an hour or two of tests racked up to over $1,500, including the euthanasia fee, which is $200.
Jesus.
You're telling me you couldn't have held my cat for just another day and posted on your Facebook page, or just held him at the shelter? I would have found him. You're telling me you couldn't have even done that. So this is a huge problem, and this is disgusting. And, I think the big eye-opening moment for me was last week. I was actually at a fundraising event in town, for the Long Island Children's Center for children with disabilities. And I was volunteering. And an angel named Diane Madden, who, as soon as this story broke out with Spirit, I told everyone as soon as I could in April. Diane Madden reached out to me, and she really offered me support and guidance, and was just an angel sent from above. I cannot emphasize that enough. She's like, you need to move forward with this. This shelter has so many issues, and you're just another victim. Like, this is happening more than you think. And really kind of explaining to me so many of the issues with this shelter that I was unaware of. But then last week,
God.
Diane had sent me a screenshot from another person, another family, the Craigs, who live in Wantagh. The same exact thing happened to their cat, Toast. Now, their cat went missing. He was an indoor-outdoor cat. And, unfortunately, same exact situation. A neighbor didn't know the cat. The neighbor brought the cat to Town of Hempstead. Now, interestingly enough, in regards to Toast's story, Toast was brought in by this neighbor, and Town of Hempstead, it was a Friday, and they had, I think it was a Friday or a Saturday, I can't remember, but the cat was brought to the veterinary office in Wantagh because it was I think it was a weekday, and, so on and so forth. And the Wantagh vet said, he's fine. He just needs to be monitored with some fluids and, just normal stuff. So from there, since there was not a vet on call at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, Toast was then brought from Wantagh Vet. And just remember, they ran tests and they gave strict instructions that he just needs to be monitored with fluids. They brought him to Central Vet in Valley Stream.
Jesus.
From there, the vet ran the same exact tests. Nothing was wrong with the cat, and the cat was euthanized the same day. Now, here's the crazy thing. Mid-transport, somewhere from Wantagh Vet's office to Central Vet, Toast had his leg injured. And no one can figure out what happened. But can you imagine? The cat's in an unfamiliar van. He went from one vet's office, numerous tests, going to another vet's office, and he shows up lethargic with a bad leg. What happened there? And from there, the vet at Central Vet made the decision to euthanize him. Now, again, this was the same day. There was no 5-day hold process. There was no lost and found protocol being followed. There was no photos posted on social media, no community outreach, nothing.
My God.
Since that happened, and I'm not even kidding, Dan, when Diane sent me that screenshot, I wanted to just fall to the floor and cry, because I wanted to hope in my own mind that when that happened to Spirit, it was an accident. For some reason, it was an accident. And I wasn't, that was kind of how I was getting through the grieving, right?
Right.
But then when this happened with Toast, I immediately went to Facebook and I wanted to know what happened to certain people, like in terms of their pets. I mean, I've heard horror stories. In 2017, the dog named Oslo, who was euthanized, again, because of the lack of Town of Hempstead protocols. You know, again, you would think that's a one-off. It's not. The amount of people that have reached out ever since Toast and Spirit stories, it's disgusting and it's scary. And I think that, you know, I'm so uneasy because this to me is, I'm lucky. You know, I'm lucky in a way because I found out what happened to my cat.
Right.
And a lot of people are out here on Long Island thinking, you know, my senior indoor outdoor cat, or my senior feral just crawled away and died. Honestly, there's a good chance that they were victims of this lack of process and the Central Vet associates in Valley Stream. So there's a whole issue here.
My God, I'm completely speechless, like literally jaw dropped, speechless.
Yeah.
Now, what was the shelter? What was Town of Hempstead's response to you?
So there's a few responses. I'll kind of go in chronological order here. So obviously, when my mom had found out what happened to Spirit, she immediately drove to the Town of Hempstead animal shelter. In tears. She did not even tell me at this point because it was a week before my 25th birthday, and she was hoping that this was the wrong cat, you know, that it was another
Right.
black cat that was picked up. She was, up until the moment that they showed her my actual cat, she was praying it was not him. So she goes to the Town of Hempstead animal shelter, and the women at the front desk, I have heard this for so long, they are horrible. They are not, it's like someone's going to you about a cat that is their entire life, and you're going to look at them and say, well, you know, what was a 17-year-old cat doing outside anyway, as my mom's crying in front of her as she gets the cat handed back to her in a black garbage bag. So when my mom got to the shelter, it's not like there were people running to her saying, I am so sorry this happened. I cannot believe it. We're going to fight to make sure this process is stronger and tighter. And, you know, we just want to send our regards again. This is horrible. We cannot believe you went through this. Your cat fell through the cracks of the system. Nothing. The only comment that she got that day was, well, what was a 17-year-old cat doing outside anyway? And you know what? Regardless of your standpoint on that, this is an animal. This is a member of someone's family. And like I said earlier, this could have been someone's feral, or a house cat that just slipped out, or a dog that just slipped out. You know, there's such a huge problem here. It has nothing to do with me letting my cat out. You know, and you know what? If he could talk and if he was still alive today, I know he'd say to me, thank you for letting me have my last hours on the beach. And thank you for letting me live 17 beautiful years in this town, not venturing far. It's not like he went 5 blocks over. He was 6 feet off my property line. He never ventured far.
My
So,
God, my God.
you know,
a black garbage bag?
Yep. So my mom,
Jesus Christ.
and my family always laughs because, you know, you picture these moments of, you know, your last moments with your cat. You're holding their paw, you know, at the vet's office when you decide to put them down.
Of
My
course.
cat died on a metal slab with strangers, and I will never ever forget that. And I will always feel the grief, and I will always feel the sadness. I think it's I can't even think about it because it makes me so, it physically aches me and it hurts me. But, you know, it's the reality of what happened, and I have to think about it in order to keep the fire inside of me angry about it. You know, I will never come to peace with this. Now, jumping forward with what happened with Toast, that immediately made me want to step in. And I am so lucky because Diane Madden and Valerie Heffron, who runs Voters for Voiceless, they have both been absolutely incredible and have been really holding my hand and Toast's family's hand and my family's hand through all of this, and have been just these brilliant women who are beyond inspiring. And I feel so lucky to even have them in my life right now. They they have really guided me on what to do and the fire I need, and the justice that Spirit and Toast and all the other lives that were lost, unknowingly lost, deserve. So Tuesday night, this last Tuesday night, we had the town of Hempstead board meeting, held their town hall, and it was one of those things where, I'm like, I'm going to get a bunch of people there. I want to get, the news there. I want to get the press in. So, a week leading up, myself, Diane, Valerie, my family, and Toast's family, all were really working hard to get as many people as we possibly could there. And we did. We were able to get some really amazing animal advocates. News 12, who are amazing with these community stories, came and did a whole segment on us. So we had a vigil before the town hall, and we spoke to everyone about, the change that we want, the 5-day protocol that needs to be in place, the, lost and found social media pages that need to be operating. I mean, we need an operating social media lost and found page for the shelter. How are people supposed to find their pets? Just give one person the role of running the lost and found page, and I promise you we won't have this issue again. The 5-day hold, we need Diane Madden to be brought into that shelter to bring people together, to make sure everyone's following their job responsibilities, to make sure that families are being reunited with their pets when this happens. I mean, in all reality, a shelter is meant for lost pets. So how is an insufficient lost and found program in place, and no one's demanding for change? So after this vigil, we went right in with News 12 in front of the town board. A bunch of us spoke about Toast and Spirit and the change that we need and the protocols we need in place, and asking Don Clavin and Chris Carini, please listen to us. These are our stories. Now, I had gone up kind of towards the end, and I had reiterated Spirit's story, and I had, emphasized to them what I need and what I'm asking for. And I think one of the most heartbreaking things behind this is that you'd think, because human beings are human beings and we're supposed to have a heart and a soul and we feel for other people's pain, you would have thought that after like the 5th person that went up to speak about these cats, that Don Clavin would have lifted his head up and just looked us in the eye, or that he would have said, go in the back, meet with council, let's talk more about this. I want to talk with you. I want to understand. I want to know how I can help as the town supervisor. Or Chris Carini as the councilman, like what can I do? What can I do? Can I help? Can I do? We had none of that. So Dan, by the time I got up to speak, again, it was towards the end, I hadn't seen one emotion, not one response from any of the board. So when I got up, to say I was fired was an understatement. I felt such anger inside of me. And you only have 3 minutes to speak at these board meetings, which is quite ridiculous. How can I put a 17-year-old's life into 3 minutes? But I had to do it.
Right.
At the end, I remember looking up and just looking at the board members and not seeing any like genuine response. Like, I'm talking to you with tears in my eyes. I'm offering to come in and train your staff, free social media training. I work in social media for huge multi-million dollar, fashion brands. And I'm willing to come in and train your staff for free. I'm telling you the protocol you need. I'm telling you we need to cut the ties with Central Vet Associates and Valley Stream. I'm telling you what we need, and that it's so easy to fix. And not one response from any of them. Only one that I got a response from was Chris Carini, and I'll tell you why. I was so frustrated, and as I got up and I walked to the podium, I told myself, after watching all my friends and family and Toast's family stand up there and with such emotion say what we need and what we're asking for, we're supposed to look to this board for them to make a change, and not just to the people of the community, but to the animals. And this is a huge problem. This shelter is a $5.5 million a year shelter, and you're telling me we can't have a sufficient lost and found program with staff that really genuinely care about reuniting pets? We can't follow a 5-day hold. So when I got up about 30 seconds before my 3 minutes was up, I looked at Chris Carini and I said to him, I know, you're scared. This is a scary situation. I wanted to really just say to him, like, I know you're scared in terms of not he's scared of the situation, but scared as to what the heck is happening in the community. I didn't mean it in a way of like, I know you're scared. I meant it in a way of like, I know you're scared for the community because of our stories. I want it to be like, I know you're scared because of the emotion and the empathy you have for animals. But he got very defensive after I was speaking, and he said, I'm not scared, I'm concerned. Not scared, I'm concerned. I have a dog. He had a dog that was older, and he had to put him down. And, he did emphasize that he was concerned and that he would speak to the board. And that was all I wanted. I wanted one response from one of them, just one, saying, in their own words, I care. I see you. I care. I'm going to help.
Right.
These people are put in these positions to make a difference, and they're supposed to listen to the community. And when I feel from that room that they're not listening, they're not caring, that hurt me so bad. And it's like, Chris Carini is our councilman, and Don Clavin is our town supervisor, and they were the two people that I wanted to pull me aside and just say, Tate, I am so sorry that this happened to you. As an animal lover, as someone who's on the board, I want to let you know I'm going to help you fix this. Let's work together. Let's bring Diane Madden in. I'll listen to her suggestions. I didn't even get that. Now, what really was, I think, the topper to this whole situation was when I got home, I felt good about what I said. I felt like, I kept my tears in, which I was mostly worried about because I tend to break down when I talk about this story. And I told myself, I have to show strength and I can't cry. That's what the vigil was for.
Right.
But when I got home and I turned on News 12, I was sitting on the upstairs couch in my house. I was holding my two cats, Mama and Bean, both rescues, like waiting for this moment. Like, oh my gosh, News 12 was so amazing to come here and film the story. Started off strong. They got the clips that I wanted. I felt like they highlighted the story. And then at the end, they released the town spokesman's statement. And the statement basically suggested that they did the right thing and they held their ground. There was no apology. There was no public apology saying, I'm so sorry to the Simmons and the Craigs. This is such a horrific situation. We're going to look into this contract with Central Vet. There's things going on here that are wrong. It's proven to have issues. We're going to have an overview with the staff and make sure they follow their protocol. The 5-day hold, like what the heck happened there? We're here to help. But no, they just stuck their ground. That, you might as well put a knife into my heart and poured vinegar in it. And I wanted to, people were texting me, and the amount of outreach and love and support that I've gotten since this story has been huge. And it's been so beautiful. And I'm so grateful for the people that have reached out. And I've had hundreds of comments and messages and strangers saying, I'm so sorry. Like, I feel your pain. And that to me is like, there are still good people out there, but not one response. And I waited all day yesterday. I waited 24 hours until after the town board. I figured maybe they all reconnected and I'm going to get a call or an email. Dan, I refreshed my email probably about 100 times yesterday.
Right, I would too.
And at the 99th time, I work full time in the city. I'm busy, and this has become my second job because this is such a heartbreaking and life-changing situation that happened. I didn't see one email. So today I sent follow-up emails to every single person on the board. Don Clavin CC'd on everything. And, I, as a 25-year-old resident of Nassau County who's lived here her entire life, I've never been involved in town politics because I always figure, like there's other people who are going to handle it and make sure, whoever's on the board's in line.
Obviously not.
But that's not the case. And I will not stop speaking up. I even said to the board, I will not stop until change is made because I owe my cat that. And I owe all the other lives that were lost because of this. Just, inhumane doesn't even do the situation justice. It's just the lack of empathy from any of these people. And you know what? They could have stayed. The board could have stayed after that meeting and they could have come up to me and they could have said, Tate, we hear all of you here. What happened to Toast and Spirit was horrible. We want to make a difference. We hear you. We see you. Our job is to really be support to the community and make a change and make sure things are running status quo. They ran out. Don Clavin and Chris Carini didn't even wait. And I'll never forget that because in my head, I was thinking, this is the town board. They want the community to thrive. They want people to be happy. They don't want to see this happening. For God's sake, my cat was euthanized for no reason. And I never heard a single word except for that the town spokesman's comment.
Which was a useless comment.
It's like, why even say something?
Just don't put anything out. It makes it worse.
Yeah. You know, and I'll never I'll never understand Tuesday night, because in my head, and I remember Monday when I was going to sleep, I was kind of trying to play out the situation in my head, like, what are they going to do? What are they going to say? I wanted someone to just stand up from the board and just say, Tate, we're here. We see you. We're helping you. Let's do this. I offered my own social media expertise, for God's sakes. It's what I do for a living. I'm willing to go in there and train your staff for free. Diane Madden is willing to come in and oversee this and make sure that this does not happen to anyone else again. They just ignored it. So to say that I'm heartbroken is obvious, but to say that I'm angry is an understatement. And I said this on News 12, and unfortunately they didn't get on the clip, but I have a lot of spunk in me, and I am not going to stop. My cats are my life. Anyone who knows me knows I do rescue. I've had over 70 kittens in the last 4 years. I mean, I've done possums, I've done raccoons, any type of animal. I will always put my best forward to in terms of, quality of life and rescue. And it's hard to find people my age that do animal rescue. 25-year-old people are out, they're in the city, they're partying, they're drinking, and I like to do that too. But animals are my priority. And this situation has absolutely broken me. And it's made me feel like, who the heck is running this town? And what other mess have I not uncovered in terms of this shelter and the Central Vet and Valley Stream? Now, if you go to Central Vet and Valley Stream, click on their 1-star comments, which is majority. There are more 1-star comments than 2, 3, 4, 5. The amount of people that have said this vet hospital has killed their pets, has charged them an insane amount of money, has no firm understanding of what the animals that come in there need. I mean, it's like a corporate vet office. It's not a small mom and pop vet office where it's like, you picture a guy who's like, an amazing vet who's in there and just wants to save lives and, loves animals and
Right.
has 10 dogs and a farm and horses. It's not like that.
The opposite.
It's a money hungry operation, and our taxpayer dollars are paying for it.
I'm. It's the first episode I've ever been on where I literally I'm too shocked to respond. I knew I followed I stalked your Facebook just to get as much information as I could, but just to hear the story in full, I am. Don't ever lose that anger. I believe in the Rainbow Bridge. Your cat is with my cats right now. They're all pissed at this situation.
Right.
Don't ever lose that fire. This is like Long Island politics at its worst.
Yeah.
Just the ugliest part of why a growing part of me wants to move off this island because of just stupid shit like this. And it's my show, I could curse. Just stupid, pointless, just to make money, just for a money factory, horrible place. Don't ever lose that fire, because Long Island needs people like you if it's ever going to get out from under this this is just corruption. This is a story of corruption, as far as I see it, of just a corrupt system that your amazing beach-loving cat was an unfortunate victim of. Is just corruption, just stupidity and corruption. It pisses me the hell off that I had one small dealing with them, but it was with a colony I feed. So I've spoken to those people at the front desk, and I understand. I know exactly, because it was 2 seconds. Oh, sorry. Not even that. I get that. It's just.
And they said the same thing to Toast's family when Toast's family had found out that the cat was euthanized. The same woman said the same thing to Scott Craig, Toast's dad. She said, what was a cat that age doing outside? And you know what? It's interesting, because in the animal world, you'll realize there's always people who, they love animals. There's these crazy, 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 crazy people that, think if, your animal's an indoor outdoor, that you're a monster, that the cat should have died, and that you deserved it, and stop complaining. You knew it was going to happen. Like, how I can't understand people like that. And I had a battle with a woman on Facebook, and I feel bad for her because, she very obviously has no understanding of, you know, my cats where I live, it is a freaking heaven. And
Yeah.
they are so happy. Like, my cat walks to me with the beach at night. Like, I have one cat, Bean, who I rescued from someone must have tossed him out of a moving vehicle of Sunrise Highway because I found him years ago as a little kitten, like running on the side. And this cat's like my dog. And you know what? He loves being outside. My cats don't venture far. They're in the driveway. I have a pool. I have a hot tub in the backyard. They all sit by the pool. Like, my cats live the best life. My boyfriend jokes with me because he's like, when I die, I want to come back as one of your cats. And for these women and men to say, you deserved it, your cat was outside. Whatever you think is whatever you think. And take that to the grave with you. But what if this was your house cat? You have people over on Thanksgiving and your cat runs out. It's very likely to
Yeah.
happen. Cat runs out.
Absolutely.
Or your dog breaks off a leash and he goes missing for a day or so. What? Then they deserve this too? So it's looking at the overall picture, and people are losing this message because they're like, oh, her cat was outdoor, indoor, outdoor. Oh my God. You know what? The dog that was euthanized the same way in 2017 from this shelter, and the many, 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 many other lives that have been lost since then from people who think their dog maybe just found another family or their cat maybe just wandered off and died. I'm fighting for them. This goes so far beyond Spirit and Toast, and so I want this story to go so crazy viral that people bump into me in the supermarket and they want to talk about it. And honestly, I'll get it to that point. I'm not going to stop until it gets to that point. I have had conversations with myself on this Long Island Railroad on my long work, after a long work day. I'm talking to myself on the train. And even today, I said to myself, I am not going to stop. I refuse. And especially after how the board reacted, this is not a game. I don't find it funny. I don't find it cute. I don't think they're doing any justice to this situation by letting out stupid remarks like the one they did on Tuesday night and then just
Right.
not saying anything
And just walk out.
and just walked out. I would have a hard time sleeping if I were them and I heard numerous people get up and say, these tragic stories that have happened and the statistics behind the shelter. Do you know that Central Vet billed the town of Hempstead just in the month of April alone $27,000? How many cats do you think were euthanized or dogs were euthanized out of that 27,000? They're running up these obnoxious bills because town of Hempstead has an open checkbook. And they know they can get away with it because no one from town of Hempstead gives a crap. And they're not looking into it. What did you do why did you euthanize that cat? Let's sit together and look at the results and highlight where it was okay to put these cats down. Or if there was a dog, let's look and see, why did you put that dog down? $27,000. My mom had put a FOIL request in, which is, freedom of information, and you can get really anything you want. And I'm sorry, the 27,000 was for 2 months, 60 days. Still, you could have brought in another vet, 1 to 2 vets, full time in that shelter. We don't need to outsource to other veterinary offices. Why are we driving our animals to Valley Stream? Bring in another vet, you'll still save money. Have a 7-day-a-week vet in there. I don't understand why we don't. It's a town shelter. There's so many questions that I have, and from my story and Toast's story and just unraveling this just mess. And the town is aware. It's just it's unbelievable.
I cannot. There's nothing anyone could say that will ever take away the pain, the anger, the guilt. I understand that,
Yeah.
but coming from me, I've had cats my whole life. I'm literally twice your age. I've had cats my whole life.
Right.
There is no better way to honor his memory than to do what you're doing. So I will personally email this episode to everyone I could think of.
Thank you.
On the board, everybody in this whole fucking state, if I need to, push until it gives, because the only way anything like this is corruption. There's a deal with this horrible place in Valley Stream. The only way to make a change is to keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
because Spirit is at the Rainbow Bridge, and he's definitely there, like fighting with you. I firmly believe that. So
Yes.
push until it gives. Don't ever let that anger
No.
go away.
Yeah.
He had an amazing life. And I am well aware of those people that judge on social media, because it's easy to judge
Right.
on social media, sitting behind the protection of your phone screen. It's easy to make a judgment. I get judged all the time.
Right.
That you gave him and your other cats the best possible life. Within minutes of you telling your story, you could sense that he had an amazing life. Had his routine of sunning himself in the driveway and
Yeah.
going on the beach. What cat could say that? And they had a hot tub and a pool. I'm
Yeah.
jealous. I'm jealous.
And in a
You know,
town where the speed limit is 15 miles an hour. I mean, we're a beach community, you know? I mean, I have so many friends in town that have amazing ferals, obviously all TNR'd and
right.
fat chunky little guys that are super happy. One of my best friends, her mom has like 10 ferals right off of Point Lookout Dunes, and they live like, these ferals are like 16 years old.
With
What other places can you
yeah,
find ferals that live that long,
yeah, that's an extraordinary age
Yeah.
for a feral. That's like
Yeah.
of just push until it gives, and just
Yep.
thank you for what you're doing. It'd be easy to just kind of collapse,
Of course.
but turning this into a campaign, into action. This has probably happened again many times since this happened
Yeah.
to you,
Yep.
and there are not people that have the wherewithal and the fight that you have. So don't ever give that up. I'm going to have you on many more times, by the way.
Thank you.
uh,
I appreciate
as
it.
as this continues, I want to keep checking in to see where this goes.
Yeah. And
um
I hope I have updates. And I think today I sent all those emails out with a heartfelt message reminding them that this is in their hands. And I want to have faith that they will email me back and agree to talk. Just one of them. Don Clavin, Chris Carini, anyone on that board, just someone on the board talk to me. Let me know that you agree this isn't okay. And Chris Carini's comments about his dog, I was happy just to hear that he's an animal lover. Because these
yeah,
days, you don't people just don't want to love anything these days. And you know what? I have a thought about people that don't love animals, and there is something wrong with them. But when I heard Chris Carini say, he had passion for his dog, I'm thinking at the end, he's gonna talk to me. We're gonna talk. This is great. This is great. He's gonna want to hear my story again. He's gonna want to see pictures. He's gonna want to, we'll talk tomorrow. You just walk out. And then I mentioned it to one of the people that I was sitting next to, and I said, "What the heck? What happened here?" They're like, "Well, I think he had to get home." I'm like, "But when you take that position on that board, you take an oath and you promise to make this community, Town of Hempstead, which I love where I live. I feel very grateful. But after this situation, I have such a bad taste in my mouth, and I have spread this story so far. Every single free moment of my day, all I do is share the story. I respond to people's comments. I respond to people who are reaching out to me on Facebook Messenger, because this is one of those things where elections are in November. And this is a very fragile time for this board. And I think that, with elections being in November, it gives a very it's an interesting opportunity right now, right? Because it's a very sensitive time. And, up until November, they're going to want to be very careful about what they say, what they do, how they act, who they support, all that. You would have thought that with News 12 next to me and all the news outlets that I've reached out to and they are aware of, they know this story, that they would have just had one, even just as a PR stunt, after talk to me with News 12 or done something or emailed me just to make themselves look better.
right.
It's such a sensitive time. They're not even going to do that. I mean, this
and,
is scary. Imagine if elections weren't coming up.
and
They're acting
this,
as if they're not.
this isn't a show about politics, but need I remind them who is voting?
Yep.
it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
your generation
Yep.
that is voting in large numbers and is very fired up. about a lot of issues.
The amount of people that are so fired up about this, you have no idea. I'm so
It,
proud of everyone who's supporting this because the numbers are huge. And the story keeps spreading. I was in the city today walking off of Fifth Avenue, and someone came up to me and they were like, "Wait, are you Tate?" And it's like in that moment I just wanted to cry because I'm in the middle of freaking Manhattan and someone saw me on News 12. And I spoke to this woman for 45 minutes. And it's funny because I would have missed this interview and I told her, I was like, I gotta go. I'm going on a podcast. I have to be there. I have to make she's like, go, go, go. I'm going to listen.
I
So,
would have we could have rescheduled. That's no problem.
no. This is big. And I got the woman's number and she wants updates. And the amount of people that are so invested in this story, I will be at every single town board meeting. I will talk to anyone that I have to just to keep this story alive. I will have to become the biggest pain in their butt. And I don't want to be. I really don't. I have a life. I have a job. I have a boyfriend. I have family. I have my own pets that I want to just sit and watch Netflix with. I don't want to have to be doing this.
Right. Of
So
course.
if they can just reach out and let's talk about it. Let's talk about the 5-day hold. Let's talk about establishing a proper lost and found program. Let's talk about getting a proper functioning lost and found page. Look at their lost and found page, Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, and tell me when the last cat was posted. You're telling me that not one lost cat has come into that shelter? Because I can name 2 right now. Toast and Spirit. So there's something deeply wrong here. And I will not stop. Cannot say it enough.
So, Town of Hempstead, if you're listening, this is an easy fix.
Yeah.
And if you're not listening, you will be, because I'm going to share the hell out of this episode because it's going out on Sunday, because I'm going to edit this really quickly. And this will be live literally Sunday morning. And we're recording this the Thursday before that Sunday. This will be out in 48 hours because I will get it out. You will hear this story if you haven't already, because obviously you didn't listen the first few times. This is an easy fix. This isn't just a bill at some corrupt vet in Valley fucking Stream. This is somebody's lifelong pet. I firmly prefer cats to people, which is why I speak about them on a podcast.
Right.
I literally, one of my cats who's asleep in the next room literally saved my life from suicide. So I get this unconditional love.
Right.
I understand that. He literally saved me from a depression. And so these are the animals that you just blindly drive to this hellhole without taking a second and using logical thinking and looking at the clues. A collar. Maybe this was somebody's pet. Maybe we should take a break, a breath, and wait 3 seconds and look into this. I have no doubt what you said, you would have gotten there and you would have taken him home.
Right.
But I won't go on a tangent.
Yeah.
Even though I really want to.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you this. Don't ever lose this fire. You can change this, because they will not. You have to do it. And I am fully confident that spirit, if I may, will course through your veins until you, as you push until it gives and make the change, because this is not sustainable. This is not. More people will go through this pain and will look at them and say, are you kidding me?
Right.
Are you kidding me? You have no protocols in place to take a break and wait through the animal control in the city. One of my cats is a 13-year-old death row rescue. Even they have a plan in place. They have a protocol where they wait at least a little while before they make these decisions, because you can't go back from these decisions.
Right.
So
there's no undo button.
Push until it gives. And I thank you so much for telling this story on this show. Thank you so much for doing what you've done for not just Spirit, but all the animals that you rescue. We need more people. We need more people like you. Run for office.
Honestly, I'm thinking about it. I am thinking about it after this situation.
Give it some thought. This this Long Island needs new blood,
Yeah.
especially in politics and town boards, where it's just like a an old person's club that you're not invited to. And this is a prime example of that. This part of the world needs more people like you. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. I am so very sorry that you had to go through this. I want to make sure that I say that. I am so sorry to you, your family, your other cats, your town that loved him,
Thank you.
the beach that loved him. I am so sorry that these people put you through this and are continuing to put you through this. That is not that is not how this should go. I am so sorry
Thank
that, you know, if it affects a change, then at least we can come back and say, and then this happened. And I feel
you.
like
Right.
that will happen with people like you. So thank you so much. You're going to be on the show again.
Yes,
Uh,
hopefully with updates,
you know,
positive ones.
we'll stay in touch, and I will keep following your story.
Thank you.
Um, you know, long may Spirit's memory remain. He sounds like I love black cats.
Me too.
He sounds like my kind of cat.
You're the best.
And and don't let the judgmental people derail you.
No.
Just keep
Yeah.
plowing. You have a strength, I could tell. Just keep plowing forward, and you will make this change. And I feel like you will. So thank you so much for being on the show. I'm going to rush this out.
Dan, thank you. I
And
cannot say thank you enough for sharing my story.
of course, and just good luck. Keep up the fight, and you'll be on again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay,
We'll talk soon.
for sure. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Dan the Catman back. It's rare that this Brooklyn kid has no response to something. I'm usually pretty good at having good comebacks and responses. I literally was shocked and speechless. I had questions prepared. I had what I wanted to ask, and a lot of it just went out the window when I heard Tate tell this story, and it's an ongoing story. Just hearing, you hear the pain, you hear the anger, you hear the guilt, you hear the raw emotion in this story. There is no pain in the world more powerful, stronger, more hurtful than the loss of a pet. I've discussed it in previous episodes. There is no pain stronger than the loss of a pet. It cuts right to the heart of your being, the heart of your soul. It just rips your guts out when you lose a pet. I've lost 3 of my cats in the past 11 years, through one way or another, sickness, old age. It is something that never stops hurting. You never stop feeling guilty. You never stop having emotions that run through your head, and thoughts and questions. You never. But add to that the fact that this happens because we happen to live in a corrupt part of New York with people that don't care about the fact that this was somebody's beloved pet, that they heartlessly killed way before its time, way before their time. Heartlessly killed. This is killing for no reason other than you got to deal with this vet, and they ring up a big bill and everybody gets a cut, or some mafia bullshit. Whatever the fuck it is, it's corruption, it's bullshit. These are people's beloved pets. My Tucker saved my life and prevented me from killing myself because I was unhappy. And to just heartlessly drive somebody's lost cat or dog to a town shelter and just put him through a conveyor belt because the bill will be rung up that's high is just, it stinks of corruption. It stinks of backdoor dealings. It stinks of a mafia movie, and it just pisses me off because it just doesn't need to happen. You want to have corruption with something else. Don't have corruption when it's somebody's pet. When it's something that is part of the family that she's had her whole life, and through a misunderstanding from some woman that just didn't live here and didn't know any better, in the blink of an eye, this cat is brought to this place, and these idiots just make this decision because it'll be a high bill, and that's it. And there's no reason for it to happen other than it stinks of corruption and the worst possible people making the worst possible decisions because of one thing and one thing only: money. No heart, no compassion, no protocol, no rules, no procedures. Just, this will be a good bill for us, and everybody gets their cut behind closed doors. So let's just do this, and we'll deal with the consequences later. And that's the only reason why this happens. And it's wrong, and it needs to change. And these town boards need to get their heads out of their asses and stop doing this. Because I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it, and Tate will keep saying it. These are people's pets. These are beloved members of the family that have done a lot more for society than you politicians ever will. They have loved unconditionally. All they want is to live their best life with their beloved families. Shit happens, and the cat wandered a little further than it needed to. Just take a break, take a breath, and follow a procedure. Make absolutely certain that this isn't somebody's pet, and don't make a decision that you cannot come back from, like you've done with Spirit, like you've done with Toast, and like I'm sure you've done with countless other pets before and since. Stop it. Because you're going to keep hearing from me, and you're going to, more importantly, you're going to keep hearing from Tate, because she's not going to stop. And that part of this horrible, unnecessary story warms my heart. If there's a positive that can be taken out of this horrible, horrible, tragic story, is that there is an even stronger advocate that has a fire under her, that is just fired up, angry, and it's just going to get worse and stronger, and it's not going to stop until this change happens. So if by some miracle or chance a Town of Hempstead member actually stops to listen to this episode, take a minute, respond to Tate with compassion, say you're sorry, and make the change. Don't let this happen to another Spirit, to another Toast, to another beloved pet that got put down before their time because you don't want to follow the rules and the protocols, and you don't want to make an easy, simple change that will prevent this from happening again. Get back to her with respect and dignity and apologize and offer a solution. That's what good people do. They admit their mistakes and they offer to work to change it. Nobody's perfect, but it's how you learn from things like this that tell people who you really are as human beings and as people that are part of our society and the political makeup of Long Island. End of speech. Don't let this happen again. Thank you so much for listening. This was a tough story, but it needed to be told. You need to hear this story. And do me a favor, I don't ask this very often, share this episode with other people. I have international listeners. Share this story with a few other people. Share it far and wide. This is not about me. This is about Tate. This is about Spirit. This is about Toast. And to Toast's family, I express my heartfelt condolences. My heart goes out to you as well. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of your pets and your cats, and I'll see you in the next episode.